Welcome to podcast 32 from Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football. I'm Michael Statham, and this week I'm with James Rowe to talk about several topics, including the Dutch national team's latest friendly draws with Slovakia and Italy, transfer news surrounding Dutch players and clubs, and we answer your questions sent in via Twitter. We're available on YouTube, SoundCloud and iTunes. Make sure to give us a like and subscribe wherever you're listening to show us your support for this season. You know, this is our last podcast for season before we return for another exciting season as a website where we hope to continue and improve how we keep you up to date with on everything Dutch football, including qualification for Euro 2020, Eredivisie news and exclusive interviews with footballers, all at your fingertips. James, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, all fine. We're looking forward to the World Cup, and there's going to be a bit of disappointment as well for us guys who are Dutch football fans, having to miss out on the Netherlands not being there. But I just thought we'd start off with one of our Twitter questions actually, and it's from Frank, and he says, "How should I feel about the World Cup?"
My advice to Frank is to sit back and enjoy it. Yes, it is a shame that the Netherlands are not there, but I think it'll be a World Cup full of surprises. I think having partaking in other podcasts and being a football fan and getting excited about it, I cannot believe for the life of me how everybody thinks that 1 + 1 is 2 and nothing changes. These are 4-year cycles where countries get stronger, new players emerge, and I think we're going to see many people eating a lot of humble pie this summer in Russia.
Yeah, no, let's just enjoy it. I think that there's going to be plenty to enjoy. I just wondered who you think the winner will be of this World Cup, James, before we get on to more Dutch football matters. Myself, I'm going to go for Belgium. I think that they've got an awesome squad. Perhaps there's a little bit of unsettlement in the camp. There's a bit of uncertainty with the manager situation, but they've got some world-class players, and I think the way they play allows them to score lots and lots of goals with the likes of Hazard, Lukaku. But at the same time, they've got a very solid defence. They've been keeping loads of clean sheets recently. And, you know, it's about time that their gold generation of players goes on to lift some sort of tournament to get particularly far. They only got to the quarterfinals of the Euros and lost out to Wales. And I just think now is their turn to really step up. Let's see if they can do it. Who do you think is going to win it, James?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting take that you said Belgium. I would have question marks about Roberto Martinez. I don't know if he's got enough nous to get them to guide them all the way, but they have very, very good players. My prediction to win it is Brazil. I think everything is set up for Brazil this time. I think in Chichi they have a tremendous manager who's won with Corinthians in Sao Paulo. He completely turned them around in a qualifying campaign after a bad start under Dunga. And there's so much togetherness in that squad now where everybody wants to fight for one another. There's joy at playing for the Brazilian national team. I think far too many people are putting too much on the 7-1 defeat to Germany. I think Chichi started from a blank canvas, and I think that blank canvas is going to lead to a 6th world title for Brazil on the 15th of July.
Yeah, he's made a great difference in those 2 years since the 7-1. Brazil's a good shout as well. It's probably the smart money, even though it would be the short odds for the tournament. Another focus for the World Cup for us, especially for Football-Oranje as well, is the sheer amount of Eredivisie players that we'll still get to see at the World Cup. James, who do you think is going to be the most exciting Eredivisie player to look out for?
I think the whole world is going to find out who Hakim Ziyech is. I think he's had a tremendous season with Ajax. He's done really, really well. He's been the best player far and away here in the Netherlands. And I think Morocco are criminally underrated in this World Cup. I think I've heard one podcast on the Totally Football show where people were admitting that they can go through, and by the rest they appear to be completely written off. They didn't concede a single goal in qualifying. There's so much togetherness in that squad, and I think that's really made me sit up and take notice. If you look at their squad, they haven't just got players playing all over Europe. They've got players that the manager Hervé Renard has selected from the Moroccan league. Now, he hasn't done that as a joke. He's done it because the players he's picked are the players he feels are right and the players he's going to call upon. And I think that Morocco are going to finish second in the group behind Portugal, and that Spain will be heading home early.
Yeah, I actually think that Morocco will get through as well in their group, along with Spain. I think it will be Portugal that might not head through. But Morocco have this good smattering of Dutch players and players that have come through Dutch academies and gone on to make their careers throughout Europe. Yeah, there's players such as Hakim Ziyech from Ajax, Kalim El-Ahmadi from Feyenoord, as well as Amrabat as well from Feyenoord. So there's plenty of players that you can look out for and say, yes, I know him who plays for Feyenoord, and it'll be nice to see him actually at the tournament with those players. But they're not the only ones as well. We've got Hirving Lozano, the PSV winger. I'm sure he's going to make a great impact for Mexico. He's one of their key players. And also, I think it'd be nice to see some of the old Eredivisie players. Christian Eriksen at Denmark as well. He'll be another one we can look out for.
Yeah, Lozano is making a big name, but I actually think that Mexico won't get through the group. I think that it will be Sweden that goes behind Germany and qualifies in second. But there's no doubt in the impact that Lozano has had in his first season here in the Netherlands.
Great. Well, let's move on to the Netherlands now. So, of course, I'm not going to be at the World Cup for obvious reasons, but we can start to see some of the improvements that Ronald Koeman's put in place. The selections he's made with the squads, the tactics he's putting in. What were some of the standout things that you noticed from the draws with Slovakia and Italy friendlies?
The standout things for me, one of them was Quincy Promes, because I think he's really underrated. And I think if he's used properly, I think we'll see him improve even more in the future. The same with the confidence coming back with Memphis Depay. I think Stefan de Vrij being fit and playing in the defence, and I must commend Nathan Aka as well, because it was a great header for the equaliser against Italy. I thought he took it really well, and great movement. And as Koeman said himself, it's they've played 3 away games in 4 and they haven't lost any of them. And he's trying to build a base now. It's still going to take an awful long time. I mean, I've spoken to some people that one of my colleagues the other day said to me, I begin to doubt if he's the right man for the job. But you can't say that after four matches, because you've got to remember this is he's taken over it was in such a disarray. It takes time to put things right, and it's still going to take a long time, and this building job won't finish until we hopefully look ahead to Euro 2020.
Yeah, but I can't believe that there's already some skeptics for Koeman, because I think he's done terrifically well to really turn around just the mentality of the squad. Not just what we see on the pitch. Now, when I was watching the game against Slovakia, I did have worries about the 5-3-2 not working. It was a draw in the end for the Dutch. First half was okay, but second half was when it really kicked in with the way how they really wanted to play. And I think that the passing and the interplay that we see in midfield and on the wings is excellent. And we are making chances out of it as well. I think the lack of a true striker isn't evident, and that they still have the right players in the penalty area to take chances. Memphis Depay, along with whether it be Ryan Babel, Quincy Promes, is positive, and actually it does work. Now, some of the other things I noticed were that I thought that the 5 against the back, it wasn't needed against Slovakia, and even though it held the shape pretty well, why not have Daley Blind, who was frankly awful at centre-back, playing defensive midfield, who can drop back into a back 5 if it's needed, if it's part of a more defensive structure. Because there was always a spare centre-back against Slovakia that just wasn't needed. There was always someone in the box who was just marking space and not doing nothing in particular. But that's just my opinion. What do you think?
No, I thought when I say about the scepticism, it's not from me. I mean, I don't believe that this job will be finished until Euro 2020. But it's just a couple of people I've spoken to that were expecting perhaps more victories, and but people have to remember what's gone on before, and the fact that Blind took over from Hiddink and they gave him so much time. The decisions that were made all had knock-on effects, like dominoes really, and it was going awry where nobody wanted to take responsibility and have some resolve at board level, and they all wanted to make sure their own position was not in any danger, and they needed to be seen to be doing something. It's meant that this has become a quite a difficult situation that Koeman found himself in. But he will be given the time. But people have to remember this is a big task that will only culminate when hopefully the Netherlands will partake in Euro 2020.
Okay. Well, we've got some questions to do with the Dutch national team and how they performed in those two friendlies and looking forward. Abdul, as usual, has given his excellent contribution to the course, and he sent in quite a few questions. So I'll reel them off within our conversation now, James. The first one is, why did we look so fragile in the first half of both of the matches against Slovakia and Italy? And I think particularly he may mean the Italy match, because the Dutch were heavily overrun in that first half and were lucky to be a goal down. What did you think? Why was that?
I think I agree with what Koeman said in the post-match interview, that you mustn't forget that the players have come off long, hard seasons.
So the Italians, though.
Yes, I know, but it's also the fact that they're having to digest what Koeman is trying to ask them to do, and in the case of Matthijs de Ligt as well, he's mentioned about the training methods and how Koeman is going about his business and how that being refreshing. But I think as well, it's the end of a hard season. It's two international games that maybe players are maybe thinking about their holidays or thinking about what they're going to do after that. I think the timing of the friendlies was telling, and I think it was just the end of a long, difficult season and wanting to look ahead and recuperate and see what will happen after the summer, really.
Okay, fair comment. Now, how about Memphis Depay? He's played both the friendlies. He scored the one goal, and Abdul thinks he didn't really impress him very much. And when you look on social media, there was certainly differing opinions of how they thought Memphis Depay played in the two matches. But what was your take?
Well, I think you've seen at club level what confidence can do, because his confidence was rocked when he was at Manchester United, and he's slowly building that up in Lyon, and he does have a part to play in an international setup. And I don't think personally that he's done too bad. He's an important player for the future. He can definitely offer something. He's a proven international, but I think he's very much a confidence player. When his confidence is up, it's really up, and when his confidence wavers, as in when he was at Manchester United, for example, it can take time to pick up. But I don't think he did too bad over the friendlies, and it's. Hopefully he'll be fresh for next season as well, and his confidence will continue to grow at Lyon.
Yeah, agree. But I actually think he was one of the standout players in the two matches. I don't see how he played badly at all in either the matches. He was a constant threat. He caused a lot of danger for the teams he played against, and that is what the Dutch need. That's what we're looking for, because since we've been missing the likes of Arjen Robben and Wesley Sneijder, this is the kind of player we need to take us forward and really cause that threat to the opposition, whether that's in terms of build-up, but also in terms of the box. He's just that versatile player in terms of how he attacks. And this leads on nice to the next question. What players should be dropped from the squad? Memphis definitely isn't one of them, by the way. But I think a good one we could start with is Ruud Vormer. What did you take? What did you make of his performances?
Well, I didn't think it was too bad, to be honest. I think his call up is long overdue, and you've got to remember as well that this is a player that is Player of the Year in Belgium. When he was playing at Arsed, was a threat and definitely has something in his locker. I think it's quite normal that a player who's been overlooked for such a long time is not going to come in and pull up any trees. But I thought it was quite decent of him, really, to be honest. And he hasn't done his selection choices too much harm in the future. I think we'll see him in future squads as well.
Is there anyone that you think definitely needs to be dropped?
Well, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm willing to trust Koeman in his judgment. I'm not too sure about Daley Blind going forward. I am highly confident in Quincy Promes. I'm highly confident in Depay and in De Vrij, and I think what he's got to do now is he's got to find a spine, and I think a spine of, for example, just to give an example, Sillerson, De Vrij, Wijnaldum, and maybe Promes. I think that's something you could look at going forward for the international games in the autumn.
Yeah, agrees. The spine is certainly something that needs to be added. And I don't think there was anyone that immediately needs to be away from the squad, although there were some players that had some below par performances, such as Hans Harteboer against Italy, substituted at half time. But then, if you look at his performances back in March, he was a great player and one of the standouts actually at right wing back. Yeah, he was one of many that actually did impress early in the season when maybe it was the best time to judge players as opposed to now these meaningless friendlies in preparation for a World Cup that the Dutch won't be at. So let's just see what happens in terms of the autumn, I guess. But do you think that the squad we've got right now is enough to beat a Germany or France that we're going to be playing in the Nations League next season?
And I think they're going to have to take full advantage of home advantage, because if they're going to get any joy against those two nations, they're going to have to win the home games. And I don't think it's impossible, but they're going to have to be rugged. They're going to have to be really stern. They might have to be defensive in some cases, and particularly for the matches at home in Amsterdam against Germany in October, when those home games start, and France in November. If the home crowd are not really susceptible to a defensive style of play, I hope they don't moan and groan, because a 5-3-2 even at home, they could beat a Germany at home. It's not completely impossible, but they must make sure that the spine is in order. Because I was at the home matches. Okay, there was friendlies, but I've been at the home games against France where they lost 3-2, and against Italy where they lost 2-1, and they couldn't really put up a fight against particularly France when Griezmann ran riot. So they're going to have to judge their attitude properly in terms of the way they play, and even if they go defensive, I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. I think if they're going to get joy from particularly the home games against France and Germany, they may have to go 5-3-2. But if that means they come away with a 2-1 win or a 1-0 win, then who knows? That could be signs of progress.
Yeah, home advantage will be key. The away matches, though, I think it shows the difference in quality now between the Netherlands and the top of the standard that we see in world football on continental level, international level. The fact that they lost 4-0 to France in qualifying shows the difference there. That they couldn't defend, basically. That they couldn't play against one of these bigger teams to get a result. So let's see how they get on. But yeah, home advantage will be key. And they do need to be rugged. They do need to play to their strengths. That their strengths now are in defending. Their back five looks very strong. It could work against one of the bigger teams for sure. Moving on from the Dutch national team, we've got plenty of transfer news coming in for Dutch clubs in the last couple of weeks, particularly surrounding Ajax. As usual, they're having an absolute hectic time with their star players. Now, we should start with some of the Twitter questions in this area, and I think we'll look first of all at the transfer involving Justin Kluivert. He's heavily rumoured to be departing for Italian side Roma this summer. James and I can speak for James here, and for Michael, who was unfortunate on this podcast today, that Kluivert must stay at Ajax for his future, purely for his future. And even though it seems like a nice transfer, it is coming too early for him. But in terms of the actual transfer now, we've got Gareth here asking, we've seen the rumoured fee for Kluivert to Roma being around 20 million euros. This seems very low for one of the best youngsters in Europe. Why are Ajax asking for so little?
I think there's behind the scenes there's a little bit of disagreement as to prices in terms of getting as much money as they can. We have often placated and stated that he should stay another season at the very least. Whether he's going to stay in the starting lineup at Roma is for a debate. But the last translation I did of when he went on the tour of South America with the under-21s when they drew with Paraguay, he gave an interview afterwards saying that he's just looking forward to his holiday and that he doesn't know what's going to happen. I saw an article come by from Mike that Clive, his father Patrick, has stated that he wants him to remain at Ajax. And I think it's important for him to listen to the people around him, because it would be such a shame for someone like him to sit on a bench and not play. And also, if you look lower down, Atalanta played Martin de Roon and Hans Harteboer on a regular basis, and Lazio did the same with Stefan de Vrij. But none of those teams have had Champions League commitments. None of those teams had the aspirations of making their mark at the cost, making their mark come what may, in terms of maybe having a bit of not a rushed perspective, but wanting to do things very, very quickly. And I wonder with Roma if they would have the same patience that Atalanta and Lazio showed with De Vrij and Harteboer and De Roon. I'm not so sure that Roma would have the same with Kluivert. I'm not so sure that he'd play as much on a regular basis, and I'm not sure that the club would have as much patience to see him play to the best of their ability to keep him long term.
I think an example of a player that maybe made the wrong move last summer was Congolo, who moved to Monaco for good money, and now he's at Huddersfield permanently, which is a good move for him. And he was right to leave Feyenoord at the time he did. He was at the age of 23 by the time he moved on. But now that it's good that he's at a club that more matches his level to just Huddersfield, and I think Kluivert's going to be so out of his depth at Roma. But we'll see what happens.
I think with the Congolo one, you've made a very good point. But I think there's part of him that would have wanted to succeed at Monaco, because with no disrespect to Huddersfield Town, it was a tremendous feat for them to stay up, but they could very well have gone down by the same token. So 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I know if that was me, and I've been sent away from Monaco having only played 3 games, that I would feel a little bit hard done by. But I think the transfer of Huddersfield, and to think how much money Huddersfield paid for him as well. They paid 20 million euros for him. This is Huddersfield Town we're talking about. You know, you wouldn't have envisaged when they were in the Championship and favourites of relegation that 18 months later they'd be paying 20 million euros for an international defender.
Yeah, it's a very good move for them. That's Ajax. Now PSV, they've been very busy as well. Marcel Brands has left now for Everton, but he still tries to do as much business as he could before he left. And Jordan asks, is the Angelino transfer still on for PSV? And will they also go back in for Denzel Dumfries of Heerenveen? The latest that I've seen today is that Angelino and Dumfries are still trying to force a transfer through to PSV. They both want to be there. Except the stumbling block for both these players is a transfer fee that PSV can't quite pay at the moment. They don't want to pay 10 million euros for Angelino, nor do they want to pay close to 7 million euros for Dumfries to Heerenveen. Sam Lammers, the young striker, has been proposed as a sort of make weight, although PSV only want to loan him out to Heerenveen and not transfer him. So it's hit a bit of loggerheads at the moment with the transfer, hasn't it, James?
I think they'll do well to come back from Marcel Brands leaving, because he did an absolutely tremendous job. I'm still surprised he went, but that's another story. But I think Dumfries would be an excellent buy, and he in particular would show that the traditional route of starting in a lower in a lower team in the division and working your way up is still plausible. And I think the Dumfries move will go through. With the Angelino one, I'm not quite sure. Interesting about Sam Lammers as well, because they don't want to let him go, but you could maybe see common ground of him going as a make weight if they don't want to pay the 7 million for Dumfries, because I really do believe that they want Dumfries. And the physicality of him and how much of a good defender he is. If he goes to PSV, I think his career will only improve. And be interesting to see how they come back as well, because they're going to have European football to contend with. And should that all go well, how they'll combat on two fronts this season will be very interesting to see.
Yeah, let's hope they get plenty of good transfer business done. The rumours have started to circulate about their other players as well. Herving Lozano has been a key player for them this season, and I think we'll see more rumours start to circulate for him towards the end of the World Cup. Gaston Pereiro, he's fairly certain to stay, but you never know. He did score in some crucial games this season for PSV. Joshua Bennett has already left for German side Hoffenheim. A very good move for him. I think
that's a great move for him, Mike. I think he's a very underrated player. I think he's been overlooked at international level as well, and I think he will only improve. I managed to speak to Justin Hoogma, who plays under Nagelsmann at Hoffenheim, and he was telling me about the training methods and how he approaches it. And I think a player like Bennett will pluck the fruits of that quite handsomely.
See, I'm not so convinced by Joshua Bennett. I think he's a good player, but perhaps not for the top of Germany. I think that PSV was a good level for him, and he can play on the European stage. There were games where he was made to look a bit like a fool against some opponents, but he has bounced back extremely well from the time he had that match in Russia, I believe, for PSV. I believe that was in St. Petersburg. But anyway, a good player, but I don't think he's quite the level for international stage.
I think he'll improve in Germany. I think Nagelsmann will improve him even more, and I think that's definitely one to watch in the future.
Okay, well, let's see. PSV still, though, they're losing other players this summer. Yudunzut, the goalkeeper, he'll be looking for a move, but there's no saying that he could stay again. And Santiago Arias, the right back, is 99% chance of him leaving. Juventus are looking at him. Marco van Ginkel was left alone. So there's loads of players leaving PSV, and I think we'll see some more players coming in. They're already looking at a new centre-back because Nicolas Isimat-Marin has been with PSV for a few years now. And Stade Rennes are looking at him. They finished 5th last season in Ligue 1. So there's a bit of an exodus going on there, actually. Perhaps more so than Ajax.
Yeah, I still think it's early days. We're only just approaching the middle of June. There's a famous quote by Arsene Wenger that says that 90% of the business happens in the last 10 days, and I think that's a very apt point. And I think with the managerial appointments for the majority of the Eredivisie, which I am still shocked came to fruition at such a pace. I mean, that was frenetic. I didn't expect all those vacancies to be filled in the tempo that they were. And I think that that we're going to start to see more of a transfer pick up I think towards the end of June, start of July, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a good point. And that brings us on to our last Twitter question we received for this week from Connolly, who says, based on current transfer business alone, who are your dark horses for European qualification next season? Now, that's quite a hard one to answer, bearing in mind there haven't been that many transfers yet. There have been plenty of teams that have been active, such as Heracles and Feyenoord. But yeah, I mean, let's look more at potential youth players coming in, managers. As a whole, perhaps, who do we think could be, challenging Ajax, PSV, Feyenoord, RZ for those top positions, 4th, 5th?
In terms of 5th, I think that's a very difficult question to answer. If I can just turn it on its head a little bit, I've been very impressed with Mitchell van der Gaag at NAC Breda becoming their manager, and I have a sneaky suspicion that they will be in the mix for the European playoffs. I don't think they're going to finish fifth because I think that's a little bit over ambitious. But I would not be surprised if NAC Breda was to finish in and around the European playoffs next season. I know they avoided relegation, but they've got some good players, and they've got a manager who knows what he's doing, and in a very, very small budget at Excelsior Rotterdam, got them playing some very good football, and they know how to win games. And you know yourself, having experienced the NAC Breda home game, what the faithful can be like, and I think they are my tip to score to make a big surprise next season. And I also think as well, not so much in the European sense, but I know it's still premature, and that we'll have many a podcast before the season starts. But if you ask me, my three managers who I think are going to be the ones to watch out for this season, I would say Henk de Jong from the Graafschap, Dick Lukien at Emmen, and Mitchell van der Gaag at NAC Breda. They are the three that I believe are going to have standout seasons this season in the Eredivisie.
Yeah, Mitch van der Haag at NAC Breda, that's going to be a very good manager appointment as well, in my opinion. And yeah, no, if you are listening and you do feel like having a trip to the Netherlands to see some Dutch football, without doubt, do not miss out a NAC Breda home match. A great atmosphere, one of the best in the league, despite the fact they are not one of the best teams in the league. Back to the question, I personally think that Utrecht have had a very good summer so far in terms of transfers. Just from a very early point of view, Jaris van Overeem from RZ, a very good midfielder, definitely at Utrecht's level. I think he's going to be great there. Simon Gustafsson, they signed him from Feyenoord for €1 million. Another good signing because he played well last campaign for Rode JC. And they've made some of the little smaller transfers as well. They've brought in a few young players, and they've also brought in a German left back, Leon Guevara, from Werder Bremen. And there's no transfer fee for that one, but they've made a few very good early signings, responding very well to the losses of Yasin Ayoub, Zakaria Labiad, and Adayo Dumic is also left on loan as well, the centre back. So they've got some players to replace, especially the loans that have gone back as well. They are going to have a very good season again. I do really rate their manager as well, Jean-Paul de Jong. He's carried on well what Ten Hag started before he left to go to Ajax.
I think you make a good point, but I think with Joris van Overheim, Michael, if he was that good, would they have let him go? You know, so I think if he was really that good, I don't think Arsene would have let him go. I think
I think that's harsh. I think that's a harsh opinion. I think Van Overheim's been quite unlucky at RZ. He hasn't been given the formation to suit him, and the position that he wants to play as a box-to-box midfielder has been played very well by Frederik Mitchell this season for RZ. And RZ have put him on the wing. They've put him as an attacking midfielder. It's just not quite the position that he likes to play. He's very much an all-action midfielder, and that position is well taken up at RZ. Utrecht is a good level for him to really push on at his age.
Yeah, well, interesting. You know, it's always nice to have we differ from opinion from time to time, and that's always nice for the pod and for the listeners and everything. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Okay, well, James, thank you for your time today and all of the season.
You're more than welcome. I just wanted to give a big thanks to all the listeners for putting up with us and for all their questions and for all their patience and for all their likes and their retweets for all of our work. So a big thank you to all the listeners and to all my followers in particular.
Yeah, well, thanks to all your listeners as well, for tuning in to the Football-Oranje podcast this season. Thanks for liking as well. Thanks for giving us all your questions. You know, always keep that coming. We hope to be back really soon with yet more exciting content on our website and our YouTube channel. Bye for now.
Yeah, bye for now, everybody.